is the god of destruction, and in 2013's Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, he took the Dragon Ball world by storm. He is Lord Beerus, and on this episode of Dragon Ball In Depth, we talk all about the purple cat who awoke from a long nap, didn't get pudding and snapped, and then made Goku tap. Of Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, but as the film progressed, he became more and more likable. Although he is known for having a very short fuse, he is generally polite and comes off nowhere near as malicious as some of the previous enemies. But he's shown signs of being slightly immature and over the top, what with wanting to destroy the Earth over pudding, or even shrinking Kaio's planet years ago because he lost in the game as well. He also was revealed to have been responsible for sealing old Kai and the Z-Sword in an issue of Psycho Jump. Also, if you try to poison Lord Beerus, you're not going to have a good time. Beerus at his full potential, and during his fight with Goku, he was only at 70% of his power. Beerus' fighting style is clearly inspired by a very eclectic Korean form of martial arts called Hapkido. It's very effective and quick, utilizing his knowledge of pressure points and joint locks mixed with a quick, effective array of strikes to disable his opponents in addition to his immense power. Akira Toriyama himself stated that in terms of power, Goku in his SSJ God form would be a 6, Beerus would be a 10, and Whis would be a 15. At the end of Battle of Gods, Whis tells the Z-Fighters that Beerus is getting old and that someday he may need a replacement. Goku is offered the job, but he declines. What this statement pretty much tells us is that even though the God of Destruction is ridiculously powerful, he follows the same Dragon Ball theological rules as the other deities.
When Goku fought Lord Beerus was able to overpower a Super Saiyan 3 with one finger.
Superman's strongest moments in comic books. Now, I know Superman has had a lot of strong moments over his 75 plus years of existence, but today I'm going to mention the several I think are the most impressive and or my favorite ones. And this first one is definitely impressive. In order to test the limits of his strength, he placed himself inside a machine that duplicated the weight of the Earth. That's 5.97 sextillion tons, for any of you wondering. He then proceeded to bench press this weight for 5 days straight. What happened after this massive workout, you ask? He literally just dropped a single drop of sweat. And if that's not crazy enough, he didn't even reach his limit. He could have pressed a larger amount of weight, but the machine reached its limit. Now remember back in the 90s when Superman was killed by Doomsday, which just showed how strong Doomsday was because he was able to take down Superman? Well, when the two fought in the New 52, Superman wasn't having that. What did he do when he faces off with Doomsday? He ripped the monster in half with his bare hands. And before you argue that Doomsday may have been weak, think about this. He broke both of Wonder Woman's arms with a single punch, and then powered up before facing Superman. Now I know later on in the story, Superman starts becoming Doomsday from breathing in the poison that was released after killing him. But nonetheless, Superman ripped him apart with nothing but his bare hands. Now if you think those two are impressive examples, wait till you hear these next two. Back in the day, Superman's sneeze, again, I want to make this very clear, that his sneeze destroyed an entire solar system. Do I really have to elaborate on that? He was also able to blow out the sun with a single breath. Again, do I have to elaborate on how powerful that makes him if just a single puff of breath can blow out the sun? Imagine what he would be able to do if he lifts his finger. Damage is what he would be able to do. Lots and lots of damage. Moving on yet again is one of my favorite feats of strength for Superman, which is when he held a miniature black hole in his mother freaking hand. Some crazy scientist managed to contain a small black hole within a magnetic containment device, which had started to come apart by the time the Justice League got their hands on it. So to prevent the entire solar system from getting sucked in, Superman just wrapped his hand around it. In layman's terms, he was able to hold something that could suck in an entire solar system. That's freaking insane. He once even sealed tears in space and time with his heat vision. There was a tear in reality caused by an ancient deity, so Superman just sealed those tears with his heat vision because, well, he can. He also survived the detonation of a sun eater that was filled with red sun radiation. This feat of power is really impressive because the Sun Eater was filled with red sun radiation, which robs him of his powers. How much red sun radiation was inside this thing? Well, it eats entire suns, so I'd guess a heck of a lot. Now, I could only assume a lot of you have heard of One Punch Man. It's an awesome anime series that's super over the top and ridiculous. It's about a character that can defeat anyone with one punch. It's amazing, and it's on Hulu. Watch it if you haven't already. Anyway, I only bring this up because Superman could also do serious damage with just one punch. It's been mentioned in comics on more than one occasion that Superman can destroy an entire planet with a single punch. Like in this panel where he states, "I've hit him hard enough to shatter small planets, and he won't fall." Or this panel where Superman says, "I'm capable of shattering a planet. If I pound away at anything long enough, it goes down." First of all, it just proves why Superman is called Superman, but second, it's a fantastic setup for a "that's what she said" joke. The last amazing feat I'm going to mention is when Superman fought his counterpart from another universe. Their battle was so intense that each blow was altering reality. As the comic says, the struggles between us has shattered the boundaries of space and time. Every time we connect, I'm transported to his world, living his life. What the comic is basically saying is that each blow causes damage to not a city, not Earth, but to reality itself. That is absolutely crazy. That is absolutely crazy. With all that said, I think it's quite clear that Superman is insanely powerful. What's funny though is these are just some of his strongest moments, but I think they show just how powerful he really is.
Superman was hanging out near Vega, the brightest star in the Lyra constellation.
For the record, that's 25 light years from Earth, or 147 trillion miles.
Naturally, a crisis occurred on Earth, so Superman's photographer buddy Jimmy activated his signal watch, calling for Superman's aid. And Superman arrived in a matter of minutes!
Being a comic book, the time Superman took getting to Earth is unspecified. However, the comic never mentioned or implied any large time lapse, and he arrived as the battle was ending. Even if we seriously lowballed this feat to taking 10 minutes, Superman would be traveling over 800 trillion miles per hour, over 1,000,000 times the speed of light. But more impressively, Jimmy's signal watch operates by emitting a high-frequency sound only Superman can hear, which means Superman heard the signal in the vacuum of space 25 light years away. That is physically impossible, except for Superman.
Oh, you aren't impossible! How about the time he lifted Spectre off the ground? A guy literally made up of eternity! No, not insane enough for you? Well then, how about the time Superman lifted a book of infinite pages? That's right, Superman lifted both eternity and infinity.
Though he did have some help from Wonder Woman and Shazam.
Hey Wiz, what's half of infinity? Infinity! Superman's held a black hole, survived an explosion equal to 50 supernovas, flew to the center of a red sun, which is like tanking millions of nukes rapid fire, and once easily absorbed enough solar energy to vaporize half a galaxy.